Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are beginning today a seminar which will last over a few days. It's titled Advancing in Krishna Consciousness During the Lockdown. So today is part one. Basically, we want to look at a proper way of utilizing this lockdown to organize our sadhana and in an effective way in order to advance in Krishna consciousness. This is actually a good opportunity for a lot of us. Of course, I don't know, some of you may not be under lockdown. So generally people believe that this lockdown is something that was really upset their lives and created a lot of problem. Yes, among some people it has, but we have seen actually that, especially for many devotees I personally spoke to, it's been a great benediction. Some people started reading Srimad Bhagavatam, some people could chant more, and in this way they were able to improve their sadhana. Okay, so earlier in the lockdown, we saw some benefits of the lockdown. For example, earlier on, we saw that there was a boost to nature, Mother Nature, because of this lockdown. For example, in Vrindavan, they said that Yamuna Devi became so clean that even if you drop a coin at the top of at the surface of the river, we could see it at the bottom. Actually, Yamuna, the river, because of so many factories, they were releasing waste products. So it became carcinogenic. It was a health risk to take bath. But because of the lockdown last year, there was a shutdown of all the factories, and there was a great benefit actually. And we also saw in some, I remember seeing some video clip, how because of the lockdown in Israel, the airport was shut. So some ducks were roaming around the highway, a whole family of ducks. And in Venice, they showed dolphins swimming around. Venice is famous because of so many canals in the middle of the city. So the dolphins went right into the city, and dolphins will only come when it's clean. They'll not go to dirty water. So in that way, there were so many benefits, material benefits. Okay, people had time to introspect in their lives. Sometimes life is so fast, we don't understand where we are going, what are we doing? We're just waking up, going to work, eating, sleeping, waking up, going to work, eating, sleeping, going to work, eating, sleeping, like that. Life goes on and no one is thinking, what am I doing with my life? Where am I going? What is the goal of life? People cannot introspect because life doesn't allow you to. This is our materialistic civilization. So, but however, because of the lockdown, people had time to reflect and think. And in a deeper way, some people took up more hobbies. There was in this way, so much development for people. This lockdown also has exposed this artificial and materialistic way of life. You see, we realize that now we are depending so much on supermarkets for our food, supermarkets and transport and cars and petrol and all this. And this is artificial because actually we have to live in such a way that we have minimum requirements and minimum dependency on other people and other things. We simply have to grow our food and live our life. But in the city, this has become very difficult now. It's become very difficult to live like that, to live in a simple way. So now this lockdown has shown us that, we are so dependent on food, for our food on supermarkets, that when they close, we can't eat. And yet Prabhupada said that there's so much land around. Why don't you simply grow your food? Okay, maybe we cannot change that right now, but I'm just saying that it has exposed this materialistic and artificial way of life. And however, I have heard of people who have used this opportunity to seriously think about growing some vegetables on their rooftop gardening, and others. I saw an article, one rich person, a billionaire, was telling people that it looks like this corona will not go, so we have to make a plan to leave the city permanently. That was his idea. It's not my idea. Well, it's a good idea actually. So another benefit was that families spending more time with each other because of the lockdown. So in that way, we saw there were benefits. Now for devotees, it has come as a benefit to be in this lockdown. Okay, I personally heard from devotees, as I said, that they became more absorbed in Krishna consciousness, in sadhana, and they got many benefits. Okay, they managed to read Bhagavad Gita and even Srimad Bhagavatam. Some people started reading. Actually, informally, here and there, people were buying books from us. A few times we went out for book distribution during the lockdown, and people took books more than usual. They took books, and many people took Srimad Bhagavatam and they started reading, because what else will you do, and how much TV will you watch? Okay, so for devotees who are living out of ashram, which is majority of ISKCON, there are certain obstacles to Krishna consciousness that they have, which is a big problem in their sadhana. Okay, so I'm just we're just going to look at this now. I'll just share the screen. Okay. So devotees who practice Krishna consciousness, the biggest obstacles to bhakti, let's look at them. What I mean is people who practice Krishna consciousness while working or going to their college, going out basically, which is majority of ISKCON. Okay, I could just request everyone should mute their mics because we come into the audio. Okay, perhaps I could do it myself. Who is it? Okay, so yeah, Asat Sangha. The biggest obstacles to bhakti for people who are practicing Krishna consciousness outside, basically working or studying. First is Asat Sangha. That is, they have difficulty in being Krishna conscious because they are associating with non-devotees. And non-devotees, they tend to speak about non-devotional topics. And then, of course, they're seeing non-devotional pictures around, and having to go to work, they have to deal with situations which are very, invoking guna, rajogun, tamogun, anger, anxiety, stress. So Asat Sangha is a big obstacle to bhakti. And yeah, that's one. Okay, so now for during the lockdown, these are the things which improved. One was Asat Sangha, that they don't have to go out anymore. If they go out, they get put down because they'll chant 16 rounds, they'll read, but when they go out, they associate with all these people who create so much problem and make them become more, make them forget Krishna and the Krishna consciousness. But during the lockdown, they didn't have to go out, so that was a benefit, Asat Sangha. Second, an obstacle to bhakti for people was lack of time for sadhana due to workload. We have to chant 16 rounds, we have to read books, we have to cook for ourselves because we don't eat out. So now there's a lack of time for proper sadhana because people are having to go out and work, and not only work, but commuting to and from work takes all their time. So lack of time for sadhana is a big problem. Again, this was remedied, it was benefited a lot by the lockdown. They didn't have to go to work. They saved a lot of time, okay, for sadhana. And in many ways, they could do more sadhana. Another obstacle to bhakti, obligations to friends and family, mostly non-devotee friends and family, because they'll call you for functions which you cannot refuse because they're friends, they're family. And invitations. And of course, they may call you for some function and where you have to eat. And many devotees, we do not eat food cooked by non-devotees. So because that contaminates the mind, makes it difficult to think of Krishna. Vishair anakhaila dushta yaman mana dushta hoy nahe Krishna smaran. So, but again, due to the lockdown, we had a very good excuse that, oh, I cannot attend this function or that function, or cannot go here or there because of the lockdown. And so we got so much more time to ourselves. Okay, so obligation, another obstacle overcome. Okay, having to eat outside food. Yeah, generally when we go to work outside, we have to eat outside. Otherwise, what will we do? We can't cook in the office. And sometimes we cannot cook before going. So we have to eat outside. So that was again remedied. That was another benefit. Okay. So these are obstacles for bhakti. And for new devotees who are not aware, you can be aware of these problems when practicing Krishna consciousness and try to overcome them. Okay, so now as I was saying that during the lockdown, a lot of these problems were solved, not fully solved. This material world is full of problems. We simply have to go on practicing what we can. But we saw that because of the lockdown, a lot of these obstacles could be overcome or could be reduced. So that is a big benefit of this lockdown for us. Okay. So how can devotees who are normally having to go to work or study or do courses properly utilize this lockdown now that they are at home and not going out? Especially there's a 2-week lockdown coming in here in Bangalore, and some other parts of India already there's lockdowns. Actually, from what I hear, it may extend. Okay, so how can they develop it? Okay, now when we speak about developing our sadhana, first let's talk about sadhana. Okay, so what is sadhana? Generally, devotees should be having good sadhana. If they haven't, they should develop a good plan for sadhana. Sadhana means regulated spiritual activities for practicing devotional service. Okay, they are activities which we'll do on a regular basis at a fixed time and fixed schedule, daily, monthly, weekly, whatever, for developing our Krishna consciousness. So sadhana is essential, especially for sadhaka. Sadhaka means the one who is a new devotee. Sadhaka also means someone who does sadhana. We are all sadhakas. Later on, people advance. It's not easy, but people advance, and then they have maybe, you may not need sadhana, but even then, advanced devotees follow sadhana to show other people. So most of everyone has to follow sadhana. It is important, and for those who are new devotees who are watching this, it's a good. You can also benefit by understanding about sadhana and making a fixed routine of regular practice, Krishna conscious practices to advance. All right, now I'm going to look at some other points. Okay, now we're going to look at the importance of sadhana, okay, in devotional life. All right, importance of sadhana. Oh, actually, I should share the screen. So importance of sadhana, we have 5 points here. So sorry, I'm having a problem here with this. Okay, importance of sadhana. why do we have to follow sadhana? We are practicing, we are chanting Hare Krishna, but sadhana means, as I said, regulated spiritual activity at a fixed time, in a fixed way, in periodic, like it could be weekly, monthly, or daily. All right. So first importance of sadhana is that, of course, we develop our Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is developed by practicing bhakti. So sadhana means that we set some aspects of bhakti in our life. So that will help us to advance. Reading, chanting, hearing lectures, worshipping the deity, and so many similar things. So by following sadhana, we include so many Krishna conscious activities, and therefore this helps us to develop Krishna consciousness. Okay. Next, controls mind and senses, particularly those who live alone or who are not having a strong association of devotees, who are not able to. So we'll notice that when we when we want to practice our schedule, chant or read, then our mind and our senses always pull us away, wanting to do other things like surf on the, watch TV or watch Facebook or YouTube, and in that way we get distracted. Plus, there'll be so many distractions at home. So when we put our regular sadhana we put it down on paper and we fix it, then it helps us to control the mind. Because if there's any kind of problem that comes up, then like for example, if we say that I have to chant from 5 to 7 every day, that's my sadhana. So when the mind or senses start pulling, you say, no, I have to follow my sadhana. This is my sheet. I have to follow it. You tell your mind, your intelligence tells your mind that this is a sadhana that should be followed. Okay. And then later on, you say, I have to hear a lecture at night. Before sleeping, it's good to hear a lecture of Prabhupada. It's good to read Prabhupada's books. So again, the time, it may come, when the time comes for you, if you decide that I want to read and then some other distraction comes, but if you have something written down, it's one way to conquer the mind and the senses. It becomes less likely for you to miss your Krishna conscious practices by having sadhana, because you manage to control mind and senses, because intelligence is convinced that this is my schedule which I have to follow. Okay, structures and systemizes our daily life. Properly putting down a fixed set of devotional practices, it gives structure and systemizes our daily life. Generally, people, they live life whimsically. They say, I'll chant my rounds, then I'll read, then I'll do this, without properly setting anything. So that will give a problem, because if you say, I'll chant later, then you end up chanting late at night, 10:30, 11 or 12. But if you have a fixed sadhana, then you can give structure to the day. Structure that, okay, at this time, this is for my Krishna consciousness, this is for my duties, this is for my work, this is for my study, again, this is for my Krishna consciousness. We can systemize structure, give structure to the day, and follow a system. If we don't follow a system, then we can't achieve, we'll suffer both our material activities and spiritual. But we have to balance both of them. So if we have sadhana, we can balance. We said, okay, at this time I'll do this, this time I'll do that. Okay, then the next thing is that importance of sadhana. It helps us to balance between Krishna consciousness and daily duties. Otherwise, what will happen is either our Krishna conscious activities take over our material life, which is a good thing actually, but it can lead to problems. If you have certain duties to do, so then it'll be a problem if because of your chanting you cannot do your duties, or vice versa. You do your duties, material duties, and then you miss your sadhana, your chanting. So that way, if we have a good sadhana, then we can balance between these two things. Okay, next. Sadhana, proper organized sadhana helps us to track our advancement. Okay, for example, if I'm reading, okay, whoever just joined, please can you mute your mic? Okay, everyone's muted. All right. So if we have a proper sadhana, it helps us to track our advancement in the sense that, for example, if I say in 1 hour I'm going to read, every day I read 1 hour. Actually, Prabhupada said 2 hours, if you can do it. So 1.5 or 2 hours. But now if in 1 hour I read and I read so little and I don't understand, but gradually as I go on, I notice that in that 1 hour, I read more. I'm catching more. I'm able to recall more. So that we are reading the same time every day, same duration, but we are absorbing more. This way we can you can track our advancement, capacity, speed. Also, for example, sometimes we say we'll memorize 1 shloka every day, and then if you do this regularly, then you'll memorize faster. Okay, that tends to happen. So in this way, these are the importance of maintaining a daily sadhana. Okay. So now there are different sadhana practices that should be included in our daily sadhana, and this is they are followed mostly by ISKCON devotees. We'll give a list of some of them. Okay, there's many things to be said. Many people follow different things, but I'm just giving the most important basic things which we should all follow. Okay, so examples of sadhana practice that should be included in our day as ISKCON members. Okay, so most important is, okay, we're going to have a lot of charts in this and lists in this presentation, so prepare for that. Yeah. So now when we speak about sadhana practice, what shall we include in our sadhana? These, of course, as I said, that some people put so many things like I'm going to chant this, I'm going to memorize that, and this, and so many things, but some very essential things that we should all do. 16 rounds is a minimum. For chanting, when we chant 16 rounds, Prabhupada said this is minimum for us to remain out of Maya. So some of you, it might be difficult because of your daily life, but congratulations, we are now having a lockdown, and so yes, you can chant 16 rounds. Why not? Even chant more than that if you have time. So chanting 16 rounds is the first step for spiritual life. Prabhupada used to mention 16 good rounds is the minimum. Of course, you can do more. Previously, as you may or may not know, that the predecessor of ISKCON was Gaudiya Math. So Gaudiya Math, they chanted 64 rounds. They'll wake up at 2:30 and wash their hands, just wash their face, chant 16 rounds, then take a bath, attend Mangalarti, chant 16 rounds, then have some prasadam, then chant 16 rounds. It went on like that. So, but we're asking you that you just chant 16 rounds. 16 rounds takes about 1 hour, 50 minutes or 2 hours. So we can try during this lockdown to chant 16 rounds if you're not doing that. Okay, 2 weeks, at least here in Bangalore, it's 2 weeks. Sadhana practice should include rising early and following the morning program. Many times, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that devotees should rise by 4 a.m. If you just do a search in Prabhupada's purports and teachings and lectures, Prabhupada mentioned many times that we must rise no later than 4 a.m. And I've heard some gurus, saying, okay, Grahasthas, you may rise not later than 5 a.m. They gave some leeway. Okay, but you should at least rise before sunrise. Otherwise, we cannot come to Sattva Gun, whatever we do. Even if we take a bath when we wake up. If we wake up after sunrise, we cannot come to Sattva Gun. Okay, so rising early and following the morning program. We have a morning program that we chant Guru Vashtak, the morning prayer, followed by Narsingh Arti, Tulsi Arti, and then Japa. Okay, so the morning program, Prabhupada put it, the Minister of Book Distribution of ISKCON, his name is Vijay Das. He's a lifelong book distributor living in America. And he's a brahmachari. And at present quite elderly because he's distributing books his whole life. So he said that the morning program is like a balanced spiritual diet. If someone doesn't have a balanced diet, then they miss something in their diet, then they start to get problems. So he said that every one of the aspects of the morning program, this is his experience, that it's very beneficial and it should not be eliminated. So this is very important. So devotees maybe could not do this because of their work schedule, but now you can try that. During the lockdown, you can control your waking up and sleeping timings. We're not at, we don't have to commute back late from work or anything. So try to sleep early. Okay, for you, some of you early might mean 11 or 10, but I'm saying 9 o'clock is also good. Okay, we look at more detail at these things, not right now. So just overview right now. Essential sadhana practices that everyone should have in their schedule: 16 rounds, rising early, following the morning program. Next, reading. Reading sustains our spiritual life. When people join the movement, a lot of them join because of reading. By reading books of Srila Prabhupada, people become more convinced and they develop deeper faith, and then they're able to do more austerity. Srila Prabhupada gave many quotes on this, which we will look at, I guess, not in this part. This is part 1 of the seminar. Perhaps tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we'll communicate the timing. But reading, practicing spiritual life without reading, it becomes difficult to maintain good consciousness. Also, what tends to happen is we gradually tend to compromise on standards due to losing conviction. Conviction means being convinced. But if we regularly read Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, then we develop a deeper faith in the movement, in Srila Prabhupada and in Krishna consciousness. Our faith, because we're in this material world, is constantly being attacked because we are among karmis, we are among people who are practicing, living material life. So we would like to live a spiritual life. We are in the big minority, by the way. So to maintain strength, we have to read daily Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are going to see quotes of how Prabhupada said that by reading these books, what happens? Faith increases. He said that even guna, lower modes like Rajagun, Tamagun, it's mitigated by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, there's a shloka in Bhagavatam. It says that Tada Rajas Tamo Bhava Kama Loba Dais Chaye Cheter Eter Anavidham Stitvam Sattva Prasidati. Effect of hearing Bhagavatam or reading is that Tada Rajas Tamo Bhava, Raja good and Tamo gun are destroyed. Kama Loba Dais Chaye. So then therefore our material desires and greed, Kama Lobha Dais Chaye, Cheter Eter Anavidam. These are clean from our consciousness. So by reading Bhagavatam, consciousness becomes clean. Okay. Another thing about reading is it is an extension of hearing. Srila Prabhupada said once that, you see, I am recording these purports on a mic and someone is recording them and writing it. This is recorded kirtan. So when we read, it's like we are hearing Bhagavatam and hearing from Prabhupada. So extremely purifying. If we make a sadhana of reading at least 2 hours a day or 1.5, we'll experience a great change in our consciousness. Okay, this is something we do daily. Of course, we don't go out, so you can do that. Okay, next thing is that hearing of lectures of Srila Prabhupada and your Diksha Guru. Prabhupada gave many classes. If you just try to see, when Prabhupada came to the West, he gave many classes, and people sitting in those classes advanced so much by hearing and by practicing other forms of sadhana. So Prabhupada's, as we know, or some of you may not know, he is accepted as a fully pure devotee who did not have any karma. He came here simply under the order of Krishna to purify and elevate us through his teachings. Okay, so Prabhupada is Vaikuntha, basically. He is fully free from guna and spiritually realized. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada's voice, just by hearing it regularly, we get purified. It cleans our consciousness. And not only the voice, but of course the philosophy. Srila Prabhupada was the greatest modern, we could say greatest modern Vedic scholar in his time, even till now. He had a vast learning of shlokas and understanding of Shastra. And he, along with his own teachings, his knowledge, he synthesized it together with the previous Acharya's commentaries and teachings, and delivered the message exactly for us now, right now, what we need to hear and how we need to hear. So hearing of Prabhupada's lectures is a very important thing, which a lot of serious devotees do. If you've experienced, Srila Prabhupada lectures are only 30 and 40 minutes long, typically. Some are longer. But in that time, so many people take their phone and start watching Facebook and YouTube, useless videos. Some problem came. Okay. So now, next point here, learning and memorizing shlokas. Actually, this Krishna Consciousness movement is a preaching movement. Anyone who joins, it's expected that they'll propagate this knowledge. Okay, so if anyone is going to propagate Krishna consciousness, they have to know shlokas. Not only that, but many people will challenge. You're saying Krishna is supreme. How do you know that? How can we know? So it's important for us to learn and memorize essential verses. Okay, depending how much you can do. The more you can do, the better. But the basic Bhagavad Gita shlokas, Prabhupada expected everyone to know them. In the course of your reading and hearing lectures, you may come across certain verses. So it's good to try to memorize those verses and try to also learn how to use these verses. Okay, so for example, we learn a verse like Dehino smin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantar praptir dhiras tatra namoyati. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 13. This is the second most quoted verse of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada used this verse to establish the point that we are all souls trapped in these material bodies, and the body is temporary, and also reincarnation, that when the body dies, soul moves to another body. So how to use the verses? This we should know, because many people will question, and then we should be able to quote verses and establish our position. Okay, this is basic for anybody, especially initiated devotees who are in parampara. Okay, another essential practice is preparing bhoga for Krishna. Devotees do not eat out. So all devotees must learn how to prepare bhoga for cooking for Krishna, know how to offer, know the standards, how much that we should not taste the food before offering. We should not use onion, garlic. We should not use packaged items which may have forbidden things like onion, garlic, like packaged spices are avoided. We may read the ingredients, but it's better to make our own spices. And things to avoid, generally packaged items, we are very wary about. We try to make our own ingredients and cook. So everyone should build this practice of cooking into their sadhana. Otherwise, we'll have to eat out. Of course, if someone is married and then someone is taking care of the cooking, that's very good. Otherwise, eating out will not be able to advance if we eat out. For sure, Srila Prabhupada mentioned many times, whatever we are chanting or doing, but if we're eating out, we are accumulating karma. Okay. Lastly, is it last? Yes, it's last. As I mentioned, that this Krishna consciousness movement is a preaching movement. So, in our sadhana, if we include preaching, it will be very pleasing to Krishna. If you see everyone in our movement, whoever joined, I'm talking about the previous acharyas and activities, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, everyone engaged in preaching in different ways. They were also doing book distribution. Jiva Goswami taught Srinivasa Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Shyamananda Pandit. And they took his books and they went to distribute the books. They did book distribution. Of course, they use an ox cart. So preaching is a very integral part of spiritual life, and the proof is in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text 68 and 69, where Krishna says that this teaching of Bhagavad Gita should be taught to people, and whoever teaches it is very dear to me, and he'll develop bhakti. And that person, there's no one more dear to me than such a person, Krishna says. So the practice of preaching is very pleasing to Krishna. And if it's pleasing to Krishna, that means it's going to help us to advance. We're going to advance, and we get realization, vigyan. That means we are reading, we are chanting, we are hearing lectures, but when we preach what we hear, it becomes more firmly established in our mind and in our intelligence, and we realize that knowledge. So the result is that we get deeper realization, and we are able to advance Krishna consciousness. So now, how much to preach and what to preach, that depends on the person. Up to your capacity, you can preach. We all know the story of when Sri Ram was building the bridge of stones across the ocean to Lanka, the squirrel who was putting small stones in the bridge to build the bridge. So at that point, Sri Ram said that he's doing his own capacity. So he was very pleased with him. He said that, it doesn't matter that he's doing less than you, but he's giving everything. And I'm seeing that how much effort he's putting in. So preaching, you may preach to your family, to your friends, to your work colleagues, or if you can do more, you do more, or whatever you can, even if you can preach to a few people, but you dedicate and follow them up, give them books, preach to them. And gradually you see them grow in Krishna consciousness. It's very pleasing to see. And plus, the more they advance, the more you will advance, because you are the cause of their advancement. So preaching should be in our sadhana practice. Prabhupada wanted that everyone in ISKCON should preach. In the modern day, it's difficult. Yeah. Again, someone has put their mic on again. Yeah. Someone called Mr. Mukesh Jain can mute their mic. Okay, so as we said that this Krishna conscious movement is a preaching movement. So everyone should preach. This was Prabhupada's plan. Okay, and if we do it, we'll realize a big difference. Again, we could not do it before, but now the lockdown is there. So because of that, we may call up people, friends, family, and try to sell them books. That is the best way of preaching, is to distribute books. So we try to spread this knowledge by book distribution, okay? And how to do that? Simply you pick up the phone and people, try to convince them to take some books. And you can mention that we are distributing these books, and a benefit goes to the temple and to the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, where they're building a temple of Krishna in Mayapur. So all the 50% of each book goes to the temple. So please take a book, you're supporting our movement. And of course, you get so much knowledge. Okay, so essential sadhana practices that should be there in our day, integrated, 16 rounds, rising early, following a morning program, reading at mainly these 3 books, hearing lectures of Srila Prabhupada and of your Diksha Guru, learning and memorizing shlokas, preparing bhoga for Krishna, and preaching. Okay, essential practices. Okay, so as I said, that a lot of us may experience problems in following some of these things, but due to Krishna's mercy, now we have time. So let us today look at all those things and try to make a plan for the next 2 weeks to follow a more heightened and deeper sadhana program and come to a higher level of realization. It will be a big boost for us. Okay. The aspects of sadhana, now what we're going to do is, as I said, we have different parts because there's a lot of content. So we're going to look at 6 aspects of things which we are going to try to build into the sadhana of everyone. Okay. And first among that is sleep timings. Okay, now this is one aspect I'm going to look at now. And then tomorrow or the next, we're going to look at other aspects. All right. So I'm starting now with sleep timings. Okay, a lot of you, mostly for us, we sleep quite early, but that's difficult for other people. So a lot of people sleep late. Okay, this is, you may be familiar with the saying in English that early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. This is an English saying. Okay, so yeah, that is very true. These sayings have a lot of wisdom behind them. One who sleeps early is very healthy, wealthy, yes, early bird catches the worm, and makes him wise. Yes, it makes you intelligent. It's a fact that when you go to sleep, the brain processes everything that it has learned or picked up. And if you sleep early, then because that process starts at 8, 9, like that. All right. So now I mentioned earlier that Srila Prabhupada said we should rise by 4 a.m. Anyone who's serious about spiritual life. And some gurus give a concession for grahasthas, maybe 5 a.m. Okay, but rising early is essential. We cannot wake up late and expect to follow proper spiritual life. It affects our consciousness. So I'm not talking now about rising. I'm talking about sleeping, because you cannot rise early if you don't sleep early. It's very good to sleep by 9 or 9:30. You can do that in the lockdown. Okay, so now Prabhupada also said that the best sleep we can get is between 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. 8 to 12 at night is the best sleep. And he said after that, you need to sleep 2 hours more to get the same benefit you'll get in 1 hour. Okay, so therefore, Prabhupada himself slept at 8 or 8:30, then woke up at 1 o'clock and did his translation, sometime 12 o'clock. And he did his translations. Okay, again, maybe, can we mute our mic? Someone called Mukesh Jain. Sorry, not Mukesh. Who is this? Okay. Okay, excuse me for that. Okay, where am I? Yeah. Okay, so now, Prabhupada himself slept between 8 and 12, and as a result, he woke up at 1 fresh or 12 o'clock and did a lot of translations while everyone else was sleeping. So the best sleep is 8 to 12. Of course, if you can sleep 8, all right, otherwise 9, maximum 10. Okay. And if you do that, then you'll be able to follow Prabhupada's suggestion that 6 hours of sleep are enough for anyone to get good rest in the day. Actually, Shastra says that ghosts and Rakshas, they wake up, they're active at night. So devotees are not meant to be active at night, unless, of course, we have a program. We are meant to sleep early. At night, Tamogun is prominent. When Tamogun is prominent, we can't really do anything. Our reading won't be effective, the chanting will not be effective, and anything you do won't be effective. And therefore, Tamogun is so powerful that we start to feel sleepy. A feature of Tamogun is sleep. So it's best to just go and sleep and wake up early. And in the morning hours, Subha morning also means Shubha. Shubh is auspicious. Any spiritual activity is more powerful in the morning. So the beginning of spiritual life is rising early. Or if I have to go back before that, beginning of spiritual life is sleeping early, waking up early, and then we begin our sadhana schedule properly. Okay, before sleeping, it's advised to follow hear some lecture or read some light pastimes of Krishna at least 20 or 30 minutes before sleeping. The reason is because that stays in our consciousness. And when we wake up the next morning, then our japa is easier, because the previous night affected is what we'll remember in the morning, whatever we did or read or heard. So let it not be any Facebook or YouTube videos. This is going to be very, very harmful. We should do something spiritual, all right? Before sleeping, hear a lecture of Srila Prabhupada or Diksha Guru, or read some pastimes of Krishna, all right? And some people find it hard to wake up in the morning, so I'll tell you how to do that. One way is I said that you do some spiritual activity before sleeping. Another is that before sleeping, at least 2 hours do not eat anything, 2 or 3 hours. That means evening meal should be at least 2 hours before sleeping, or 3 hours. And it should not be a heavy meal. And in that way, otherwise we are not resting, we are digesting all night. And because if you eat and food digestion is going on, you'll just get many dreams at night. You'll not be able to sleep. You'll not really get rest. Okay. So it'll be easier to wake up if we eat less. And one thing you can persuade your mind, if it starts to disturb you by not waking up in the morning, then your intelligence can tell your mind that don't worry, we can catch up on more sleep after lunch, half an hour, 20 minutes. Sometimes people sleep an hour at lunchtime, just after lunch. You may normally not do that, but you may get time now. I don't know, maybe you have online work or courses, you cannot do it, but you may be able to do it also because you'll be at home now. Okay, so this is regarding sleep. Okay, we have to control the sleep factor and sleeping and waking up if we are serious about spiritual life, as Srila Prabhupada was and as he taught. Okay, now I'm going to just present some other things that we're going to look at. Okay, let's look at the points. Okay, I'm just concluding now. So in the next sessions, hopefully tomorrow and day after, we will look at the points we will look at to establish good sadhana. Okay, so I just spoke about sleep timings. We're also going to look at planning our rising early and following the morning program, how to follow that program. Okay, and by the way, soon you can ask questions if anything is on your mind, but I'll just conclude this. Okay, we're going to look at reading, how we can maximize our reading, how we can do it, what to read and how to read. We'll also look at hearing lectures of Prabhupada, how we can do it, the best time, etc. And we look at learning and memorizing shlokas. This is all the sadhana schedule should include these things. And very, very important nowadays, oh, sorry, no, that's not the next point. Okay, we look at preparing bhoga for Krishna, all right? And this is very important, reducing TV time and electronic asatsang, spelling mistake. Reducing TV time, 3 hours TV, 3 minutes puja. That is not devotion. Electronic asatsang. We are not, I'm at home, I'm not mixing with non-devotees, but I'm on Facebook, YouTube, internet, etc. It's a sadhana killer. Okay, in many ashrams in ISKCON, they banned the smartphone because it's just not possible that people can practice properly. Okay, this is important. So the points we will look at to establish good sadhana. These are the things. We looked at sleep timings today. Okay, I'm going to conclude now, and part 2 tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we'll continue. And if anyone has any question, you can ask me now regarding what we spoke about. And you could either type it in or it can be spoken on the mic regarding sadhana. Okay. So any questions? Okay, I guess it was okay. So tomorrow we're going to continue, and it will be at again 7 p.m. Sorry, not tomorrow. I'll confirm the timing, but it may be Wednesday or Monday. Anyway, it will be recorded, so you get it. Okay, so if there's no question, we can stop now. Okay, so all glories.
I have a question.
Oh, you have a question? Yes, Ravindra.
Yes. Prabhu, how important it is to take bath or before starting out chanting? Once we wake up, is it okay just taking brush and start chanting, or we have to take bath, or is it okay even if you